You are surrounded by people right now. Your phone has the contact information of hundreds of them. You can reach almost anyone on the planet within seconds. You have more ways to connect with other human beings than any person in history. And yet, loneliness is at an all-time recorded high. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic. Not a mood, not a phase, an epidemic. The same word used for disease outbreaks. 1 in 3 adults report feeling lonely regularly. Half of all young people say they feel alone even when they're with other people. Half. So here's the question that should keep you up at night. How did ancient humans kill loneliness? Not medieval humans, not ancient Romans, humans from 100,000 years ago. Before cities, before language as we know it, before everything we use to connect with each other today. And the answer, when you find it, makes the epidemic make complete sense. Because we didn't lose the ability to connect. We lost the conditions that made connection automatic. Let's start with something that sounds obvious but isn't. Ancient humans were almost never alone. Not by choice, by necessity. A lone human on the African savanna 100,000 years ago was a dead human. The predators were faster. The nights were dark. The food required cooperation to find and to keep. Everything about the environment made solitude not just unpleasant, but fatal. So humans lived in groups. Always. The same group. Day after day, year after year, for their entire lives. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, the same researcher who studied how our ancestors used storytelling around campfires, spent decades studying the size of these groups. What he found was remarkable. Hunter-gatherer bands across every culture, every continent, every era, tend to cluster around the same number, 150 people. Not 100, not 200, 150. Dunbar found this number everywhere he looked. In ancient village sites, in Roman military units, in modern offices and churches and military companies, even in the average number of people most humans maintain genuine relationships with today. He called it the social brain hypothesis. The human brain, he argued, didn't grow large primarily to make tools or plan hunts. It grew large to manage relationships. Every person in your group of 150 is a complex social equation. Who can be trusted? Who owes whom a favor? Who is friends with whom? Who is dangerous when angry? Who will share food in a crisis? Your brain evolved to run those calculations constantly, all day, every day. Which means your brain is not designed for the world you actually live in. It is designed for a group of 150 people you see every single day for your entire life. But just when you think this is simply a story about group size, just when you think the answer is obviously just to spend more time with people, something more interesting happens. Because loneliness isn't the same as being alone. This is the most important thing researchers have learned about loneliness in the last 30 years. You can be surrounded by people and be profoundly lonely. And you can be physically alone and feel completely connected. In 1978, psychologists Letitia Ann Peplau and Daniel Perlman at UCLA made a distinction that changed the field. Loneliness, they argued, is not about the number of people around you. It is about the gap between the social connection you have and the social connection you need. That gap. That specific distance between what you have and what you need. That's loneliness. Which means the question isn't how ancient humans avoided being alone. It's how they closed the gap. Let's start with what happened before language. Before humans could talk, they connected the way every other primate connects. Touch. Specifically, grooming. If you watch chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, you notice something immediately. They spend enormous amounts of time picking through each other's fur, not just for parasites. The grooming itself is the point. It releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both the groomer and the groomed. It is, at the neurochemical level, one of the most effective anti-loneliness mechanisms evolution ever produced. Chimpanzees spend roughly 20% of their waking hours grooming each other. 20% of every day, just touching. But here's the problem. Grooming is 1-to-1. You can only groom one friend at a time, which means in a group of 30 chimpanzees, keeping everyone bonded through grooming requires enormous amounts of time. Time that isn't available for finding food or avoiding predators. Dunbar's hypothesis, and it's still debated but the evidence is compelling, is that language evolved to solve exactly this problem. Language is grooming at scale. Instead of 1-to-1, you can bond with 3 people at once, 10 people around a fire. You can maintain relationships with people who aren't even in the same physical space as you. And crucially, you can talk about people who aren't there. Which is, when you think about it, almost all of what humans talk about. Other people. Who did what? Who said what? Who can be trusted? Who can't? We call it gossip, and we say it like it's a bad thing. But gossip, social information sharing, is how humans maintain the bonds of a group of 150 people without spending 20% of their day grooming each other individually. Gossip is what replaced grooming, and gossip kept loneliness away. But language alone wasn't enough. There was something else. Something that happened every evening, without fail, for hundreds of thousands of years. Fire. In 2014, Anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study that changed how scientists think about what fire actually did to human society. She spent years recording conversations among the Zhu-Hosai Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle. During the day, conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Disputes about resources. At night, around the fire, everything changed. 81% of nighttime conversations were stories, not practical talk, not logistics, stories. Tales of distant places, people they'd never met, adventures, myths about how the world began, jokes that made the whole group laugh. Wiesner argued that firelight conversation is where human culture was born. But here's what I want you to notice about that. When you tell a story about someone, something happens in the brain of the person listening. They experience what you're describing. Not as strongly as if they lived it themselves, but their neurons fire. Their emotions respond. Their heart rate changes with the narrative. This is called narrative transportation, and it does something specific to loneliness. It creates the feeling of shared experience. You and the person listening to your story have now both, in a neurological sense, been through something together. That shared experience is the raw material of connection. Every night around the fire, ancient humans were not just entertaining each other, they were manufacturing the feeling of belonging, deliberately, systematically, without knowing that's what they were doing. But stories weren't the only tool. There was something even older, something that predates language entirely: music. The oldest known musical instruments are flutes, carved from bird bones and mammoth ivory. They are 40,000 years old. But music itself is almost certainly older than that, because you don't need an instrument, you just need a voice. And every human culture ever studied, without a single exception, has music. Not some cultures, every single one. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar, yes, the same Robin Dunbar, conducted a series of experiments on what music does to groups of people. He found that singing together, dancing together, drumming together, any synchronized physical or vocal activity, causes a massive spike in endorphins across everyone participating simultaneously. Not just in one person, in everyone, at the same time. This is the crucial thing. Music solves the grooming problem that language partially solved but couldn't fully crack. Grooming is one-to-one. Language is one-to-several. But music is one-to-everyone. Simultaneously. At scale. When an entire group sings the same song at the same moment, every single person's brain floods with endorphins at the same moment. Every single person feels connected to every other person. Not abstractly, chemically. Ancient humans didn't have therapy. They didn't have antidepressants. They didn't have a surgeon general warning them about epidemic loneliness. They had fire and they had music. And every night, those two things together did something to a group of 150 people that nothing in the modern world has yet managed to replicate at scale. They made everyone feel like they belonged to each other. Here's the moment that stopped me when I found it. In 2017, a team of researchers at the University of Oxford, led by Eileen Pierce, studied the relationship between music, pain tolerance, and social bonding. They measured how much pain people could tolerate, using a standard blood pressure cuff inflated to an uncomfortable degree, before and after different types of social activity. People who sang together in a choir showed significantly higher pain tolerance after singing than before. Higher than people who watched a film together. Higher than people who took a class together. Higher even than people who went to the gym together. Why does this matter? Because pain tolerance is a proxy for endorphin levels. And endorphins are the brain's bonding currency. The same chemical that grooming chimpanzees release, the same chemical that makes touch feel like safety, was being released at scale in a choir through nothing but synchronized voices. And here's the specific detail that breaks your heart a little when you think about it. The benefit was significantly stronger for strangers than for friends. If you already know the people you're singing with, the endorphin boost is real but modest. If you're singing with people you've never met before and people who are, to your nervous system, potential threats, the boost is enormous. Because you are doing the most ancient, most human thing possible. You're telling a stranger's nervous system, you can trust me, through nothing but breath and sound. So let's total this up. Ancient humans killed loneliness through 4 specific mechanisms, and they used all 4 of them every single day. First, physical proximity, living in the same group day after day for your entire life, not visiting, not texting, living alongside, the low hum of constant presence. Second, touch, grooming, physical contact that released bonding hormones continuously throughout the day. Third, story, shared narrative that created the neurological experience of going through things together. Manufacturing connection through imagination. Fourth, and synchronized activity, music, dance, ritual, collective action that flooded entire groups with endorphins simultaneously, creating chemical bonds between people who might not even have spoken. 4 mechanisms every day, without fail, for 300,000 years. Now count how many of those you have in your daily life. Really count, not how many are available to you, how many you actually experience today. Here's what I think the Surgeon General got slightly wrong. Loneliness isn't a new problem caused by social media or modern life. Loneliness is an ancient alarm system working exactly as designed. Your brain, the brain built for a group of 150 people, built for daily physical contact, built for nightly storytelling around a fire, built for the chemical explosion of collective music, is sending you a signal. The conditions have changed. The alarm has not. When you feel lonely, your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing precisely what it evolved to do, telling you that something necessary is missing, telling you to find the group, to touch someone, to tell a story, to sing. The problem is not that the alarm is broken. The problem is that the thing it's designed to summon, that specific, physical, daily, embodied togetherness, has become optional in a way it never was for 99.9% of human history. We make connection convenient. In doing so, we made it easy to avoid. There is a study from 2020 by Julianne Holt-Lundstedt at Brigham Young University. She analyzed data from 300 to 8,000 people across multiple countries and found that people with strong social relationships, real, physical, present relationships, had a 50% higher chance of survival at any given time than people who were isolated. 50%. Loneliness is not a mood. It is, at the biological level, as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And the ancient solution to it is not more followers. It's not a longer contact list. It's not even more time with people. It's the specific type of togetherness that your brain was built for. Presence, touch, story, song, 4 things every day. For 300,000 years, that was enough. And the question is whether it still is. And the more interesting question, the one worth sitting with, is why we stopped.